Hello and welcome to another video. So today we're taking a look at a PortalCraft deck. It also runs an Omen, incorporating some of the cards like Catgun, Icarus, Zwei, and of course Magna, along with a nice little Olivia as some bonus. Just for some bonus. Now we accidentally, we're going too far there. Either way. So mainly Magna, you're not really that interested in using it. It's a big effect, although that is a nice one to have. I typically like to use it as a draw card to get Displacer Bot. Because you're pretty much guaranteed to either get Displacer Bot or Mecha Wing. They're the only two cards you can actually pull, I think, in this entire deck, I think. Yeah, so looking at it, I'd say that's it. Which is perfect, honestly. I like that a lot, being able to pull those. Omen of Destruction and Maisha are the only two cards you want to use Evos on a lot of the time. Although, I will keep backing out of it by accident, clicking that little X there. I do like to use them on Zwei occasionally if I know I'm going to get the lead, and you will see that in this video. So we are going to check this day out and get right into it. So our first game here is Portal versus Portal, which does always make for a semi-interesting matchup in my opinion. A lot of people are running a very similar variant of this deck, I think, mostly focusing on, of course, Omen. I haven't seen much else floating around, and considering the legendaries we actually got, it's not a big surprise. We didn't get a lot of new things to expand on any kind of new format or new deck idea. Mostly just supporting old ones like artifacts and puppets, so nothing wrong with that, although I do enjoy both those archetypes a bit, so it's nice to see, but it's not like when we got Omen and it, incorporated a whole new variation. So setting up a couple of puppets early does give us at least some Maisha fodder, which is great. The Maisha is always a good play late game. But we do need to get some setup going now. So Iron Steed, I actually really enjoy that card as a 3-drop. Getting a couple of artifacts into the deck always works well. And we do have Altiplane Onslaught, although I would definitely prefer to use them when we have Resonance, although I probably won't get that chance, just because of the way that this next few turns are going to be structured, having to probably go into the Omen next turn and then into Altiplane the turn after. So they are going for their own Omen of Destruction though, so we definitely want to be a little bit careful. So since you do run two major win conditions, you do have to kind of balance between them. That's why I do like to keep both my Evos as much as possible for the Omen and of course for the Maisha. So I have at least a backup plan set up, because it can be harder to pull out lethal just from Board Swarm at the moment, since there are so many good mass removal cards. So I went for double Omen of Destruction. That does mean they have 2 Destruction in whites in their hand now. That's actually pretty insane. We can banish this at least with the Altiplane, but we are going to have to start pushing something else out, so why not go for the Magsteel Lion? Get a couple of artifacts into our deck now that we've got an okay setup to start with. And if I had have planned out the next turn properly, before I realized how to use the Magna Giant, this was actually one of the first games I played with this deck. If I had have realized it, I probably would have went for Bestowal first, and I would have tried to get the Magna Giant down by 1 by playing my artifact and then getting Displacer Bot and maybe working it out that way instead. Although this play wasn't the worst, it was definitely not exactly what I wanted. Pull the strings. So I didn't just try to kill this off, which is actually not that bad. We can use our Ancient Artifact and Accelerating play to clean it out a little bit and try and get some more cards. We've also actually set up to be able to play Destruction in white, and since they've only got a couple of weaker followers on board, that's actually not a concern at all. Now we do get the Mecha Wing Angel, which is another good defensive card now, so I actually don't mind getting that at all. And we could even hold the other Magna Giant if we want to. I mean, at this point, why wouldn't we? And they didn't play anything except for their own Destruction in white, which actually lets us set up our Destruction in black first. Which now means our Maisha is pretty much free to roam the board for next turn. And at this point, I believe we've had about 10, well, maybe 8 followers, destroyed. So with its base stats with Evo, we should actually have lethal, which will work out great. During the match, I did actually check to make sure, but off the top of my head, that should have went pretty well. So Purgation's Blade and a turn 10 lethal. Of course, you can do it earlier with Maisha play if you set up right, but typically you can work on turn 10 easy. Next up, I have Portal versus Blood. Blood has definitely become pretty powerful. Both Mecha Blood and Vengeance Blood seem to be very good decks. I definitely need to find a good Vengeance Blood list to do a video on soon. Hopefully I'll be able to get that done for you guys. It's just a matter of tracking down good lists, because I could always build my own lists, but they won't be refined enough to really cover properly on the channel. Usually I'd prefer to find a net deck list that already exists, and then of course modify the list to suit my preferences and my abilities, just to spice things up a bit for myself. Since typically net deck lists don't always work the best on ladder, you sometimes want to mess around with them at least a little bit to get comfortable. So we've actually had a fairly decent setup going forward so far. Against Blood, getting as much early pressure as you can is always a good thing. Entrancing Blow is just such a good card. So I'd say this is Vengeance Blood. Although with this deck at this point in the game, I really can't worry about not pushing damage. I just need to push as much as I can, as fast as I can, before risking getting destroyed. Nightmare Dream Eater, twice. So I believe that's the one that summons a bat and then transfers its stats. It's actually a very interesting card. I have been seeing it run a little bit more lately. And we did get a fairly decent one. Getting Zwei, we're actually going to get double puppets, so we can actually wipe out this entire board now with this one card. So I actually quite like this one. It will cost us an Evo though. And also, if I had to use this ideally, I would have actually traded that puppet into the 4-1 and then used the Zwei trading as a better effect, and I would have took minimal damage then. Instead of taking 2 damage, I would have only taken the 1 and just been better off slightly. Heartsick Demon and a Swarming Wraith. Not bad, since they are in Vengeance, of course. Swarming Wraith is going to get that advantage. They didn't decide to clear the Victoria. Not going to be an issue anyway, because we can actually go for 9 damage. While also clearing out the 2-2. It is going to cost us at Evo, of course, though, to get that damage. But I think if you can get your opponent to 1, especially against a Blood player, it's worth it. Even if we're going into turn 6, where if they were Mecha Blood, I would have been a bit more cautious. But since they're most likely playing Vengeance, based on the cards we have seen, it makes it pretty predictable. So Calamity Bringer, randomly destroy 3 other followers. If Vengeance is active for you, deal 7 damage, split between every character randomly, excluding Calamity Bringer, I believe. So the odds of them killing themselves was extremely high, which worked in our favor well, but you definitely do not play Calamity Bringer when you have 1 health left. Not that they really had a choice. So I was a little surprised by this deck and how fluidly it felt when I was playing it. Maybe I am just used to playing Omen plays and Maisha plays, that it was kind of normal, or maybe I just got really good hands, but either way it tended to work out fairly well, and the matches were pretty okay. I've played a few with this deck and they were definitely either very close or positive in our favor, so I would say overall this deck definitely isn't bad. It's definitely a very rock solid one, and it does run quite a few new legendaries. I mean, the only old legendary this deck is incorporating is the Omen. Everything else is new, so keep that in mind if you guys don't have many legendaries. I wouldn't recommend building this if you don't have a lot of vials already spare, or you don't already have most of them, or if you're just really interested in playing Portal, because of course decks will change, things will get modified, and everything will shift after this first week passes, and we are getting close to that now. So if you guys did enjoy this video, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe. You'll find the deck list in the description below. Until next time, guys, see ya.